Hello student, welcome to the lecture on preliminaries for export import, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain how to commence international trade, discuss on setting up an appropriate business organization, discuss on choosing appropriate mode of operation, explain the process of naming the business, understand the processing of an export order, describe a single administrative document. Let's start with the concept of preliminaries for export-import. Starting an import or export business needs a proper guidelines and understanding of the foreign market. Before starting an import, it is also important for an importer to obtain all the necessary information in matters associated with foreign trade agreement. Starting an import is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Like an export-import, also requires a lot of preparation. Proper selection of the commodity market is an important factor before starting an import. Commodity market data and information collected during research helps to prepare the commodity market report. The right market can be selected by answering the following question. Is the product an importer need to conducting his business available domestically? Is there a lucrative and untapped domestic market for an imported product? Does importing a product increase competitiveness as a business? An importer should only proceed if he is determined that importing certain goods will definitely make his business profitable. Once the importer is confirmed about his importing decision, then he should proceed towards the development of the proper import business plan. While making the import plan, importer of India must evaluate the various government policies and guidelines, including the rules and regulation. Export marketing means exporting goods to other countries of the world. It involves a lengthy procedure and formalities. In export marketing, goods are sent abroad as per the procedure framed by the exporting country as well as by the importing country. Export marketing is more complicated to domestic marketing due to international restriction, global competition, lengthy procedures and formalities, and so on. Moreover, when a business crosses the borders of a nation, it becomes infinitely more complex. Along with this, export marketing offers ample opportunities for earning huge profits and valuable foreign exchange. Let us now discuss about commencing international trade. The recovery of world trade was as vigorous in 2010 as had been its decline in 2009. It lost a great deal of momentum in 2011. However, with the growth of world trade volume slowing from 12.6% in 2010 to 6.6%. Weaker global economic growth, especially among developed economies, is the major factor behind the deceleration. As a result, over the 4-year period that started with the sharp deceleration of world trade in 2008, the level of world import volume has remained well below trend. During the crisis, import volume of developing countries fell to about 13% below trend but recovered strongly to catch up almost fully with the rapidly rising trend experienced in the early 2000s. In 2010, developing country import growth contributed to half of world trade growth compared with 43% in the pre-crisis period of 2004 to 7. While long-distance trade plays an essential role in modern economies, it was also a salient feature of economic development after the Neolithic Revolution as hunter-gatherers evolved into sedentary societies that specialized in food crops. The importance of trade further increased with the emergence of cities and early civilization. Caravans traveled along the Fertile Crescent trading between Mesopotamia and the Levant, and the trading routes expanded over time to distant parts of Asia and Europe. The exchange of goods or services along international borders allows for a greater competition and more competitive pricing in the market. The competition results in more affordable products for the consumer. The exchange of goods also affects the economy of the world as dictated by supply and demand, making goods and services obtainable which may not otherwise be available to consumers globally. International trade is the exchange of goods and services between countries. This type of trade gives rise to a world economy in which prices of supply and demand affect and are affected by global events. Political change in Asia, for example, could result in an increase in the cost of labor, thereby increasing the manufacturing costs for an American sneaker company based in Malaysia, which would then result in an increase in the price that we have to pay to buy the tennis shoes at local mall. A decrease in the cost of labor, on the other hand, would result to pay less for new shoes. Increased efficiency of trading globally. Global trade allows wealthy countries to use their resources, whether labor, technology, or capital, more efficiently because countries are endowed with different assets and natural resources: land, labor, capital, and technology. Some countries may produce the same good more efficiently and therefore sell it more cheaply than other countries. If a country cannot efficiently produce an item, it can obtain the item by trading with another country that can. This is known as specialization in international trade. For example, Country A and Country B both produce cotton, sweaters, and wine. Country A produces 10 sweaters and 6 bottles of wine a year, while Country B produces 6 sweaters and 10 bottles of wine a year. Both can produce a total of 16 units. Country A, however, takes 3 hours to produce the 10 sweaters and 2 hours to produce the 6 bottles of wine, total of 5 hours. Country B, on the other hand, takes 1 hour to produce 10 sweaters and 3 hours to produce 6 bottles of wine, total of 4 hours. But these two countries realized that they could produce more by focusing on those products with which they have a comparative advantage. Country A then begins to produce only wine and Country B produces only cotton sweaters. Each country can now create a specialized output of 20 units per year and trade equal proportion of both products. As such, each country now has access to 20 units of both products. Other possible benefits of trading globally. International trade not only results in increased efficiency but also allows countries to participate in a global economy, encouraging the opportunity of foreign direct investment (FDI), which is the amount of money that individuals invest into foreign companies and other assets. In theory, economies can therefore grow more efficiently and can more easily become competitive economic participants. For the receiving government, FDI is a means by which foreign currency and expertise can enter the country. These raise employment levels and theoretically lead to a growth in the gross domestic product for the investor. FDI offers company expansion and growth, which means higher revenues. Free trade versus protectionism. As with other theories, there are opposing views. International trade has two contrasting views regarding the level of control placed on trade: free trade and protectionism. Free trade is the simpler of the two theories, a laissez-faire approach with no restriction on trade. The main idea is that supply and demand factors operating on a global scale will ensure that production happens efficiently. Therefore, nothing needs to be done to protect or promote trade and growth because market forces will do so automatically. Now, moving on to the next topic, we will talk about setting up an appropriate business organization. Business organization refers to any industrial, commercial, or service organization which produces goods and services for sale or engages in distributing or assists in the process thereof. It is to represent any collection of business resources, factories, warehousing, machinery, material, employee, etc., and the planned use of which is limited within the framework of a one-man business, partnership, and company or other form of business organization. In the other words of Richard Norman Owens, a business organization is an enterprise engaged in the production or distribution of goods for sale in a market or rendering services for a price. Function of business. In order to achieve its objectives, a business enterprise performs many functions which may be broadly grouped under the following: production, marketing. Production function. It is concerned with the transformation of inputs like manpower, materials, machinery, capital, information, and energy into specific outputs as demanded by the society. The production department is entrusted with so many activities such as production, planning and control, quality control, procurement of materials and storage of materials. Marketing function. It is concerned with distribution of goods and services produced by the production department. It can perform this function efficiently only if it is able to satisfy the needs of the customer. For this purpose, the marketing department guides the production department in product planning and development. It fixes the prices of various products produced by the business. It promotes the sale of goods through advertisement and sales promotion devices such as distribution of samples and novelty items, holding contests, organizing displays and exhibition, etc. Nature of business. A business enterprise has the following characteristic. Dealing in goods and services. The first basic characteristic of a business is that it deals in goods and services. Goods produced or exchanged may be consumer goods such as bread, rice, cloth, etc., or capital goods such as machines, tools, etc. The consumer goods are meant for direct consumption either immediately or after undergoing some processes, whereas the capital goods are meant for being used for the purpose of further production. Capital goods are also known as producer goods. Services include supply of electricity, gas, water and finance, insurance, transportation, warehousing, etc. Production and exchange. Every business is concerned with production and exchange of goods and services for value prices. Thus, goods produced or purchased for personal consumption or for presenting to others as gifts do not constitute business because there is no sale or transfer for value involved. For example, if A buys a TV set in Tokyo to be gifted to his brother on his return to New Delhi, it will not amount to business. But if the same person realizes the price of the TV set, it will come under the scope of business in a limited way provided the other conditions are also satisfied. Let us know the meaning of choosing appropriate mode of operation. There has been a growing body of international business literature on the foreign market operation methods which companies use in their international activities. Much of the focus of the research has been on the entry mode decision or on subsequent mode changes, although there has been also a continuing interest in the internationalization patterns or international establishment chains over time of companies with the operation mode as a key indicator. The stress on foreign operation mode is understandable, given its importance as a key base from which a company's ability to penetrate a foreign market springs. It is also an overt signpost of a company's commitment to a foreign market, both within and outside the company. It is likewise one of the most concrete forms of a company's international activity that can be readily identified and for which records often exist. Once mode combination rather than singular modes are accepted as part of the reality of international business operation, they raise a host of similar questions about the nature of mode choice and change over time. The types of multiple modes can be described as unrelated modes. The multiple mode phenomena may reflect the operation of an entrant firm that conducts business across industries. Thus, the operation of large diversified multinational concern in a foreign country are likely to be handled by different parts, divisions, strategic business units, etc. of the organization. Segmented modes. An entrant firm may use multiple models that operate in the same industry but serve different segments. Thus, the entrant firm might deem it advantageous to approach the foreign country as a collection of segments that should be tackled differently also in terms of operation modes. Walla suggests segmentation as one explanation of the multiple modes observed in his study of mode choices by French exporters. In some cases, the incidence of multiple modes means that separate segments of the customer portfolio are handled differently. For instance, the largest customers may be handled directly while others are handled through distributors or sales subsidiaries. Complementary modes. Waller gives two explanations of the multiple mode phenomena observed in his study. The first explanation is that of segmentation mentioned. In other cases, however, the objective of such combined approaches is clearly to increase efficiency without being based on any specific segmentation. An example is a company-employed person based permanently in the country in order to back up an agent or to complement the marketing action of a subsidiary. Here, the multiple modes concern the same segment or target group but are concerned with different activities in the value chain. Naming the business. When choosing a business name, startups need to think carefully for both legal and marketing purposes. An effective business name could prove to be most powerful branding tool, and naming business requires a lot of consideration. Guiding instruction for availability of names. The procedure for scrutinizing the availability of names of new companies has recently been re-examined carefully in this department, having taken into account the difficulties experienced by some registrars in the following the instruction given to them via department's letter. This letter, together with the enclosed set of instruction as revised, consolidates and is in supersession of all the previous instruction issued from time to time by this department. An illustrative list of names considered to be undesirable within the meaning of Section 20 of the Companies Act has also been given herewith. In addition to these, the registrars of companies are requested to note the following general instructions also. As the registrars have hitherto been doing, they should refer only doubtful and hard cases where they might find it difficult to take a decision to the Research and Statistic Division at the headquarters. Where consultation with the regional director on the spot is possible, registrars of companies would take advice before referring doubtful and hard cases to the headquarters. The registrars of companies may ask the promoters to suggest a panel of 3 to 5 names quite distinct from each other for consideration.
Deciding on a name is one of the most exciting parts of starting up a business. The only problem with choosing the name of your business is that so much rides on your business name. It's a little like choosing a name for your baby. A little like? Make that a lot like. It's no easier choosing a name for your business than it is choosing a name for your baby. What's in a business name? You want it to be everything. Sadly, many business names are nothing. Deciding on a great business name takes time. It takes thought. Moreover, getting it wrong could spell disaster for your business. Getting it right, however, will give customers a reason to hire you, connect you to your niche market, and save you thousands of marketing dollars. You want your business name to have a big impact on people. This, in turn, will have a big effect on your market. A name that's too far out there may make it difficult to brand. A name that's too generic and common is easily ignored. Naming your business Sarah's Cookies may make all the sense in the world to you. In most cases, however, your own name means very little to your customers because it says nothing memorable or of distinction. The key to picking a great name for your business is to make it memorable. Make it distinctive. Don't make it silly or cute. Your name should reflect your market niche and identify and be able to reach your customer base easily. So don't mess it up. Top 5 characteristics of a great business name. 1. It's short. 2. It's specific and reflects a specialized business, like Jiffy Lube and Home Depot. 3. It's unique. Consider using words that are not in the dictionary, like Alchemy, Google, and Squidoo. 4. It's creative. Don't copy, borrow, or modify existing famous brand names. Got Milk has its own branding, and leave Victoria's Secret to Victoria. 5. It's an easy name to say, spell, and remember. Use proper English construction so that when put in a sentence it will work, like, I just purchased a book from Amazon. 5 popular business naming trends to avoid. 1. Don't abbreviate your business name. Though it may make communication and correspondence easier, acronyms are sterile. 2. Avoid anything that ends in global, enterprise, or inc. They're passé. 3. Avoid using your own name. Build your brand on your company, not on your name. That way, if you decide to sell your company one day, it will be easier. 4. Don't hyphenate your business name. It makes remembering and writing it difficult. Plus, a hyphenated web name is hard to read. 5. Avoid geographical names unless you're trying to create a strong local affinity. The name, Willow Oak Center for Arts and Learning at Robertson County, works because this is a business targeted specifically for Robertson County in Tennessee. Once you've found your name, consider trademarking it through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and registering it through the Secretary of State offices. If your business operates on the internet, be aware that domain names are not registered through state or local government, so just registering them at domain registration sites is not enough to protect your great business name. There is more to naming your business than just coming up with something that sounds good, is clever, or you just happen to like. Naming your business is a serious matter. Your business name reflects your image, your brand, and your position in the marketplace. Because your business name is crucial to your overall branding success and marketing efforts, make your business name count. Make your business name great. Your success depends on it.
Department's guiding principles. The department has evolved the following guiding principles for deciding availability of names. It is not in consonance with the principal objects of the company as set out in its memorandum of association. This does not necessarily mean that every name should be indicative of its objects, When there is some indication of business in the name, then it should be in conformity with its objects. Importance of business correspondent. Nowadays, business operations are not restricted to any locality, state or nation. Serves as evidence. We cannot expect a trader to memorize all facts and figures in a conversation that normally takes place among businessmen. Through letters, he can keep a record of all facts. Thus, letters can serve as evidence in case of dispute between two parties. Help in expansion of business. Business requires information regarding competing products, prevailing prices, promotion, market activities, etc. If the trader has to run from place to place to get information, he will end up doing nothing. Selecting channels of distribution. Small businesses need to find a way to serve their customers wherever they are located. That is why selecting a distribution channel is an important aspect of building a competitive advantage for businesses of every size. Reach. The channel selection must be easily accessible for customers and prospects. If company sells products locally, choose a retailer or distributor in area who knows the local market. Customers. Using a distribution channel does not just give a method of delivering products to own customers, it could also give company access to a much larger customer base. Processing and export order. A key factor in any export business is clear understanding and detailed knowledge of products to be exported. The selected product must be in demand in the countries where it is to be exported. Before making any selection, one should also consider the various government policies associated with the export of a particular product. There are products that sell more often than other products in international market. It is not very difficult to find them from various market research tools. Export license. An export license is a document issued by the appropriate licensing agency after which an exporter is allowed to transport his product in a foreign market. Custom clearance. In India, custom clearance is a complex and time-taking procedure that every export faces in his export business. Single Administrative Document (SAD). The main customs form used in international trade is known as a Single Administrative Document (SAD), also known as Forms C88 in the UK. Traders and agents can use the SAD to assist with declaring import, export, transit and community status declaration in manual processing situation. The SAD was introduced to control goods arriving from outside the EU and goods being exported outside of the EU. For trade within the EU single market, the SAD is not necessary. The SAD also covers the movement of non-EU goods within the EU. The SAD is harmonized in line with other European versions of the form and is largely restricted to instances when computer systems are not working and customs resort to manual processing or as an advice to shipping agent. The SAD box numbers refer to the electronic system field numbers respectively. New security legislation requires advance information for goods arriving in or leaving the EU. If we supply a SAD with our goods, we'll be able to meet many of these security requirements. We will need an economic operator, registration and identification EORI number to complete an entry summary declaration or an exit summary declaration. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. The exchange of goods or services along international borders allows for a greater competition and more competitive pricing in the market. Multiple mode phenomena may reflect the operation of an entrant firm that conducts business across industries. An exporter without any commercial contract is completely exposed to foreign exchange risk that arises due to the probability of an adverse change in exchange rates. A key factor in any export business is clear understanding and detailed knowledge of products to be exported. The main customs form used in international trade is known as the Single Administrative Document (SAD).